Hello, good evening. Today we're going to take a closer look at this famous novel by the French author Jules Verne. In this section, we're going to practice world geography and pronunciation.
London, 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 London.
Okay everyone, now let's take a closer look at a trip around the world in 80 days. As you know, Phileas Fogg with his servant Passepartout started their journey in 1871. That's exactly 150 years ago. As you can see in this old calendar. The trip begins at the Reform Club, 改革俱乐部, in London. Here is an old map of London, and this is where the Reform Club is. Here you can see the old building of the club, with its interior that looks like a palace. And the reading room with the library. Now, let's practice pronunciation of the major stops on their journey.
Turin, 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 Turin. Brindisi, 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 Brindisi. Suez Canal, Suez Canal, Suez Canal, Suez Canal, Suez Canal, Suez Canal. Aden, 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 Aden.
Alright, now let's get back to our trip. From London, they get to France, to Paris, and from then on they continue by train to Italy. First to Turin, and then to the south of Italy, to the place called Brindisi. Now Fogg takes the Mongolia, a steamer, Lunchuan. They travel across the Mediterranean, Tijunhai, to arrive at Port Said in Egypt, and then to Suez. When they arrive in Suez, an English detective, Mr. Figgs, is waiting. He's looking for the gentleman thief. From there, they travel through the Suez Canal, stopping at Aden to take on coal, Chumei, and then continue their journey through Arabian Sea all the way to the city called Bombay in India. Now, let's practice some more pronunciation.
Bombay, 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 Bombay.
Uh-oh, look here. Google doesn't know the answer. Let's use the rules of English pronunciation to read it anyway. Okay? Let's go. Colby, Colby, Colby.
Allahabad, 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 Allahabad.
Now this is interesting because the current spelling and the pronunciation of the city is slightly different from the past.
Calcutta, 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 Calcutta.
Okay, now let's get back to see Mr. Fogg. Now Phileas Fogg finds out that the Trans-Indian Railroad is not yet completed. So between Kalbi and Allahabad, they have to ride an elephant through the jungle. Here, he and Passepartout rescue a young Indian woman named Aouda from a ritual called sati, which in Chinese is 亲自驯妇自焚. They take Aouda with them on the journey. They get to Allahabad in time to catch the train for Kolkata. Here is an old train from that era, and here is a famous temple in Kolkata, and this is a street view from the city. Now from Kolkata, they travel again by the steamer Rangoon, bound for Hong Kong. However, it stops in Singapore to take on some more coal, shumei, and then continue to Hong Kong. Fogg was supposed to catch the steamer Carnatic to Yokohama, but the ship left early, and Passepartout got drunk with Fix, so he didn't tell Fogg about the change. Fogg then hires a small ship to Shanghai in China, where he boards the steamer to Yokohama. Well, Fogg arrives in Yokohama and finds Passepartout there. They board the steamer General Grant together for the Trans-Pacific trip to San Francisco. The trip takes them 20 days. Now, let's practice some more pronunciation. There are 12 more place names: Singapore, Hong Kong, Yokohama, San Francisco, Fort Kearny, and Omaha, Chicago, New York, Bordeaux, Queenstown, Dublin, and Liverpool.
Singapore, 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 Singapore. Hong Kong, Hong Kong, Hong Kong, Hong Kong, Hong Kong, Hong Kong. Yokohama, 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 Yokohama.
Now, repeat after me. San Francisco, San Francisco, San Francisco, San Francisco.
Fort Kearny, Fort Kearny, Fort Kearny, Fort Kearny, Fort Kearny, Fort Kearny. Omaha, 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 Omaha. Chicago, 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 Chicago.
Alright, now let's practice the pronunciation of New York. Everyone? New York, New York, New York, New York.
Queenstown, 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 Queenstown. Bordeaux, 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 Bordeaux. Dublin, 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 Dublin. Liverpool, 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 Liverpool.
Alright, now let's follow Mr. Fogg on the last two legs of his journey. Fogg's Passepartout, Aouda and Fix, they plan to travel the United States by rail. However, in Medicine Bow, the bridge over the river was damaged by a storm. The engineer decides to cross the bridge very fast. The bridge falls into the river behind them. Then the train continues to Fort Kearny, where they are attacked by Sioux Indians, Suzhou Indianen. At Fort Kearny, soldiers chase the Sioux Indians away, but Passepartout is kidnapped. 被绑架. Fox finds him, but they miss the train. So they have to travel to Omaha by sled with sails. 它有方方的雪橇. And then they take train to Chicago and all the way to New York. Phileas Fogg arrives in New York late and just misses the sailing of the ship China, which would take him across the Atlantic to Liverpool. However, he convinces the captain of a small ship, the Henrietta, to take them on board. While the Henrietta was going to Bordeaux, France, Fogg gives the sailors money to change the course for Liverpool. They also lock the captain in his room. However, the ship runs into bad weather and runs out of coal. So Fogg buys the whole ship from the captain and burns all the wood on the ship as fuel. But it is only enough to get them to Queenstown in Ireland. There, Fogg catches an express train from Queenstown to Dublin in Ireland, and then a fast boat to Liverpool. There he is finally arrested by Detective Fix, since they arrived on English soil. 他们终于到达英国本土. Now Fogg is, however, later found innocent, so he is released and he can go home. Then he catches a fast train to London. When they arrived in London, it is 10 to 9 in the evening, so it seems that Phileas Fogg had lost the bet. Luckily, they forgot about one important fact. When you travel around the globe eastward, or counterclockwise, 逆时针, and you cross the international date line, 国际日期变更线, you gain 1 day. Therefore, Fogg actually still had 1 more day to arrive at the Reform Club. Eventually, Fogg won the bet and earned £20,000.